Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Mage the Ascension the Victorian Age. This is Jen's Seeking for Josephine. So if you're listening to this, this is going to be an audio-only episode, a little mini episode that goes into a seeking. And just in case you have no idea what this is, in Mage the Ascension, when you wish to gain greater power or to basically expand your horizons mystically, you have to go on what's called a seeking. It's like a vision quest mixed with a dream, mixed with like a therapy session with your avatar, which is kind of like your magic soul, for really quick definitions. And it's a pass-fail type of thing. Like going into this, Josephine could fail the seeking and not gain any additional power. And it is usually, when I run them, they're kind of presented as hallucinations, dreams, or detachments from reality, where unless I tell you differently, everything seems normal to you in that moment. Like when you're dreaming and you're in a fun house and there are dragons taking tickets for rides and you're like, yep, this is normal, you know? And you know, Tom Cruise is your best friend and he's gone to get cotton candy, you know, those type of like weird dreams. So anyway, hi everybody. I am Kelly. I'm your storyteller, and I guess I'm your storyteller, Jen.
Yeah,
And
just me, mine alone.
just you, yeah. I'm all yours, and so that means that I will be playing every character here today, and I have no idea how long this will last. And the only hint I'm going to give you for this one is one I told you earlier, and that is the nature of this particular seeking is not necessarily a binary choice at the end of it.
Right.
So that may be too much. I may get slammed in the comments and they'll be like after the fact, like, oh, that was way too easy. But knowing what I know of tabletop role-playing games and players, I probably just confused you more than I helped you. So
Oh
we'll
yeah,
find out.
for sure.
We'll find out. Yeah, the entire thing is just about wearing men's clothes, and you know, it's all about non-binary stuff. So it's all good.
As a short tangent,
Mhm.
I remember, I don't know if it was my first seeking or just one of them, but I didn't even know at the end whether I had passed.
Did I run that, or did one of my
You ran the one I'm thinking of.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Was that the one where there was a comet?
probably. Yeah.
Okay,
I had to
yeah.
push a button or not.
Oh yeah, I forget what you did.
I'm
You
pretty sure I
just
pushed the button.
That's fair. You should always push every button. There will be no buttons in this seeking. Do you have any
Fair
questions
enough.
before we begin?
No. I know you said I don't need dice, but I do have my
Hmm.
character sheet up and some stuff. I do have dice in case
Okay.
something comes up, but like you said, probably not.
Hmm. Yeah, so this is going to be hallucinatory, and this is going to be more of a narrative thing. So anything that you want to do in character, you will succeed or fail based off of my whims alone. But also
Sounds good.
contextually, like if you're good at something, then you probably can do it.
Yeah.
But all right, so oof, nervous. Haven't ran a seeking on stream publicly. I've only ever ran seekings one-on-one in like locked rooms before over the past
Yeah.
like 2 decades of running Mage. So this is definitely different, folks. I hope you enjoy this. Um, I don't know if there are other seekings online of other people who have done this. Now that I think about it, because I've never looked for
Hey,
them.
you could be a pioneer. I mean, it's not like
Um,
many people run Mage the Ascension anyway.
I know, right? It's kind of sad, but hopefully,
Hmm.
maybe people will after they listen to this. So, without further ado, let's get to it. You're sitting at the bar, there in the technocratic stronghold, the Order of Reason stronghold, I should say. You approach the man at the bar, the strange one who's dressed differently, who's dressed in old weathered leathers, who looks at you with that wobbling, silver eye stuck into the scarred socket. You take a drink, and the next thing you know, you set your glass down. But it's not a glass, it's a cup. Leather, boiled, watertight, and sweating. You set it down, around you, you can hear the sounds of work, the sounds of waves, the sounds of people climbing ropes, hammering nails, mopping, the sound of the wind and the gulls above you. Have I lost you for a moment? You hear a voice next to you. He's a weathered man. Oh, please.
I was sorry. Yes.
I was saying, we're almost to the point we have to start paying attention. Should be first thing in the morning, Captain.
Good.
But for now, we've got a bit of time to relax, if you would mind. I know the crew has been wanting to discuss tomorrow's plans with you.
Of course.
Shall I assemble them in the ready room?
Yes, please.
Aye, Captain. The man next to you is, if he was ever handsome, that is decades behind him. His nose is riddled with varicose veins, his eye gouged out some decade ago, replaced by a silver-carved ball. His skin is made of leather not dissimilar from your cup. And as he turns, he shouts to the rest of the crew, as he should as your first mate. All right, everyone. Non-essentials down to the ready room. We've got a lot to talk about. I'll see you down there, Captain. He smiles. There are so many gaps in his teeth that you can almost see out the back of his head. And with that, you can see the rest of your crew mill about and head below deck. There are a few faceless deckhands, ones that you care not for or care not about. Your eyes glaze over them as you try to determine what their faces might be. But there are 5 that you recognize, beyond old Silver Eye O'Kieran, who's been with you for as long as you can remember, really. There's the quartermaster, Goodwin. She's been with you for, since you set sail from New York, along with the cabin boy, Teddy. The bosun, who's in charge of keeping the ship up and running and making sure that all of the decks are watertight. Miss Evelyn, as well as the one who pulls double duty as the ship's doctor and cook, Darcie, who you picked up around the coast of Ireland. They all nod their deference to you and head under deck. What do you do? What do you look around for? This feels natural, but somewhat surreal.
Okay. I think when I was first addressed as captain, there was kind of that thrill of recognition of something I wanted. Regardless of whether or not it felt natural in the moment, it's just that, like, yes, this is what I wanted. And I think she's just going to take a moment to kind of hold the railing and ground herself in this reality of, like, smell the salt air, look around. I'm gonna look and see if if it's just like wide open sea or if there's any like land masses in the distance. I do have a spyglass that I'll take a gander through as I wait for the crew to assemble.
Sounds good. Now I have to ask you 2 questions. Number 1, what color is the wood of your ship?
It used to be a light color. It used to be like a light oak maybe, but over time has been weathered and darkened with the sea salt and the sun, so that it looks like a much darker wood than it started out as.
Do you have a masthead? And if so, what is it a woman, a creature?
An octopus.
An octopus. Is it holding anything?
It's holding a harpoon.
Is the harpoon facing outward from the octopus or inward? Outward?
Outward.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you walk to the front of the ship and look around with your spyglass, you can see that you're not completely on open water. In the far distance, you can see the hints of land masses. Little islands speckling the horizon. Quite little. It seems like you're sailing for a rough archipelago. Archipelago? Archipelago. A rough archipelago. Over before you. And as you sweep your spyglass around, you can see that the area in front of you is besought by storm clouds. Rips of lightning tear through the atmosphere, and even here, with your spyglass, you can see hours ahead. But you can already smell the ozone. As you ground yourself in the reality here, it is real. You run your fingers along the side of the boat as you are looking around, and sure enough, an errant splinter finds purchase in the flesh of your finger. It hurts, but as much as a splinter would.
Yeah.
You need to get the cabin boy up here sanding again. And then you'll notice two things. As you turn to look at your finger, directly beneath it, at the front of the boat, you will see writing on the side of the hull. The ship's name. The Hubris. And you'll notice one more thing. Speckled dots of other ships in the distance behind you. What do you do?
Can I tell that the dots of ships behind me are ships? Is that through the spyglass?
Yes. You can definitely see through the spyglass. I'll say that when you were looking down at the Hubris, you actually noticed the first one with your naked eye, though.
Okay.
If you want to investigate it with a spyglass, you can. You'll see that it is a ship similar to yours, a full pirate galleon, besought with a flag dangling off the top that you'll recognize immediately. A circle surrounded by 9 interlocking rings. The Concord.
Out of curiosity, what flag am I flying?
What flag are you flying?
I don't think I'm flying a flag.
Okay.
Or at the very least, it's not something that's coming to mind for Josephine.
Okay. If you have a flag, it's lost in the crow's nest. It's lost in the sails.
Yeah, it's essentially. But no, I don't think we're flying a flag, at least not right now. Whether we have one or not is a different question. But yeah. If the deck looks like it has cleared down to just essentials, then I'm gonna make my way down to the ready room. Nodding at crew members that I pass.
Captain? You step beneath deck. The old girl is majestically laid out. Perfect for the size of person that Josephine is. Anyone taller would risk banging their heads. Anyone smaller would not be able to skillfully wedge themselves between the corridors during rough weather. You sail through the center of the ship toward the ready room, and the whole thing feels like a majestic wooden glove built for your hand. as you open the doors to your ready room. The double doors swing open in front of you, and you can see that in the dim lantern light, a broad table lies in front of you. The 5 members of your crew, the 5 executive members, surrounding it, waiting for you.
Captain on bridge.
They all salute. Good to see you, Captain, says Darcie. Everything is in tip-top shape, says Evelyn. Yeah. Everything's good to go. Rations and, any powder, says Chastity. Hi, says your cabin boy. Looking good, Captain.
I'm being pertinent.
Thought that's why you hired me.
I hired you to sand the railing. It's giving me splinters again.
I'd be happy to pick that out for you later, Captain. After we win the prize.
Of course.
If I may, bring us back to attention.
Please.
O'Kieran reaches beneath the table and pulls up a large map. He splays it out in front of you.
All right, so, to bring us all back up to speed on what we're doing here. All right, so, we aboard the Hubris are engaged in a bit of a race, we should say. Behind us are at least 6 other vessels. I didn't cite the last one, but the other 5. We've got the Concorde, the Firmament, the Hades, the Black Grail, and the Pillager. Some of the nastiest pirates in all the seas. Some of them are sloops, some of them are galleons like us, and some of them are a lot bit faster. I reckon, by the stars, we're here.
He puts a gnarled, once broken finger down on the map. You're in open water, headed through an island chain. He drags his finger up, and you can see that the map is messy, incomplete, hastily drawn, as if by someone who either had bad recollection of the time spent traveling, or had been drawing in the midst of something that shook them.
Well, figure it. From now, we've got about 2 hours, 3 hours to get rest. And then, when lights back up again, we head on the path we're on right now takes us straight to Macaw Bay. And there, the Cove of Nemo. It's where the treasure is, that's where we're going to get it.
And how, Evelyn says, do you expect us to pass the Reef of Thunder and Fire?
Well, Captain, I'm sure we all have a number of ideas about it.
As you can see, he draws a line on the map.
The area directly preceding the bay is marked with this: the Reef of Thunder and Fire. Thunder above, fire below. Bits of the boiling stuff usher straight out from the reef. We melt the side of the ship. There's no safe way through it. Except the strait.
Oh, not this again. You hear Evelyn say, I thought I was the one who believed in fairy tales. You hear Darcie say,
It's true. The only safe way to the island is aboard the strait.
I wasn't paying attention, Captain, Teddy says. The what?
I'll gesture. Care to tell us about the strait?
Of course, the way to the Isle of Booty. We're going to call it the Isle of Booty for nice and easy.
Oh, I like that a lot, actually. I would love an Isle of... Teddy shuts up.
Sanctuary Strait. You follow the stars above you, and it's this route here.
He takes that slightly claw-like finger and scratches his old painted nail across the map, leaving a deep gully in the paper.
Here, here, and here. We stay on this. We might have a ship at the end of it.
I'm going to look at the others and go, a fairy tale.
I mean, Captain, if I could be so bold, there's
Please.
a lot of people have tried to make it to this island before. My parents did. Their parents have talked about it. It's a mystical land, but a safe passage. A safe passage just don't exist. If it did, then, well, wouldn't everybody already be there?
Not necessarily. I understand what you're saying, but if a safe passage is hidden by death and destruction, as it sounds like this one might be, it could be that no one's found it.
Well, somebody had to find it. Somebody had to find it and leave the treasure there for us in the first place.
Exactly.
Which is where I got it. I argued and I fought with a monkey peddler. Aye, an old organ grinder inside of Cape O'Neill. That's where I learned this. But it's true. There's a downside, though.
What's that?
Look. Well, he looks down, and looking down at it as well. Is Josephine adept at navigation? It's not a specific skill, but I'd say that probably perception or intelligence and survival would probably be part of it.
Cool. I think it was like a write-in option, which I didn't take.
That's okay.
But sorry, what did you say?
Survival's probably pretty good, but I'd accept other options if you had anything you'd like to put forward.
I mean, I have a pretty solid perception and wits, sort of
Okay.
thing. I have a dot in survival. I have
Okay.
a dot in sailing, which I specifically took.
Oh, perfect. So sailing would be acceptable as well. So looking
Cool.
at this, what you can see is that there are two problems with this. Number one, the line, the strait that he drew is hardly to be called that. It zigzags back and forth across the reef constantly. The ship would have to be in constant motion, would have to be constantly making sure it was staying exactly on coordinates to ride this thing. Doable, but it would slow your vessel down significantly. That said as well, it also bisects back and forth across various trade winds that are marked on the map. Which means that on top of taking additional time just to maneuver, there's a good chance it would slow your sails down a good 10 or 20%. Maybe more, depending on how bad the currents are outside. It is the safe option, if he's right, but it could lose you the race.
Right. What? Okay. What has been sort of the general working relationship I've had with him? Um, have we had maybe not this instance, but like, is he the type that has over exaggerated in the past and I've caught him on it, or has he usually been pretty steady and straightforward?
Both,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
He is the type that when you call him as a liar, he is usually proved to be telling the truth. And when you take his word baldly, he will often be proved to be wrong or a braggart.
Okay.
He is hard to pin down. But there's one thing I will say for certain. He does not have loyalty to you. He
Okay.
has loyalty to the ship.
Interesting.
In fact, he has been with the ship longer than you.
Hmm.
You inherited the vessel. Through whatever means you inherited it, with him already serving as first mate.
Okay. So it is likely that he wouldn't want the ship destroyed, which is a point in his favor, at least.
Also, he'd probably die, but
I mean, sometimes, but it's good when they have loyalty to something other than
true.
themselves. Because he could just abandon ship and possibly survive, but anyway.
True.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to look at the others. Actually, I'm going to look at him first and say, I'm not discounting that as an option, but what are my other options?
We could try to fortify the ship, says Evelyn. There are some new techniques that I know of that could try to make the hull a bit less flammable. It's not really something that I think most ships have to worry about while they're in water usually. But I can do my best. We could also try to set up some of the steel as lightning rods. Try to channel any of the thunder and lightning. Lightning thunder is. No, never mind. But try to channel it away from any crew and to more safety.
Okay.
I could try to cook up something, Darcie says, to invigorate some of the crew. Maybe put a little bit of. I do have some herbs and some of that lovely leaf we found in the South Americas. I could mix some of that into the food to give them a bit of extra pep. It makes them a bit nervous, a bit anxious, but it's good for long marches, I'll say.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
I could try to. Chastity begins, kind of waving her hands around, trying to think of the idea. We've got a lot of gunpowder and cannonballs. We could try to redistribute them throughout the ship, or, I mean, if we're trying to race quickly through fire, maybe not explode? That's probably a good. I mean, it might be a good idea to. Can't believe I'm saying this, but maybe throw some of it overboard to lighten our load and make us less explosive.
Okay.
I could help you get that splinter out, says the first mate.
Your cabin boy? You mean?
Oh, yes, pardon me. Yes, says the cabin boy, whose hair is much sleeker than Josephine might remember it in reality.
Mm-hmm. The splinter can wait, but thank you. Okay. First, reinforcing the hull and the lightning rods is a good idea regardless. So let's get started on that, so that we're not rushing for time. later.
That's priority 1 then?
That is
Evelyn
priority
says.
1. Yeah.
Right.
Are we expected to either have to fight the other ships for supremacy or potentially creatures en route?
I say that's always an option.
It is always an option.
If we get there second, I'd prefer to have my guns up.
This is true. We'll keep the gunpowder as a last resort if we do need to perhaps speed up or perhaps use the gunpowder and cannons for the end of the race. But perhaps no, never mind.
The only other thing we really have is food, Captain, and I guess bedding and extra sails. But if the island doesn't have food, we'd probably have to eat the cabin boy.
Probably. We should hang on to the food. Somehow I feel like he wouldn't make a great meal.
I would love to prove everyone wrong about that. I'm definitely a mouthful or two.
In any case, I would prefer that the gunpowder and cannonballs are kept safely distant from each other. Spread amongst the ship.
Okay, but that'll slow down our response if we have to use them.
I don't expect that to be as much of an issue as potentially it
Exploding.
getting lit and exploding. Yes.
Yes, Captain. Chastity will say. Understood.
Darcie,
Hi.
you said what you can make potentially makes people a little more nervous and anxious.
Yes, in the Columbias, it's quite well known for doing such. Depends on the potency. There are a number of ways to do it. It can be processed into snuff and taken that way, but I believe we can also put it into tinctures. Tinctures. Drinks.
I would prefer my crew to have steady hands, but perhaps as an emergency measure, you can prepare some.
Understood. I can easily do so, Captain.
Thank you.
But of course.
I'm going to think on this safe passage and whether or not we should aim for it.
You've got a couple of hours to do so.
I do.
I suggest getting some rest. Or some relaxation if you'd like. It might be the last you get for a while. Or it might just be a precursor to a very long rest if you choose wrongly, Captain. If you don't mind me saying so.
The danger is evident, but thank you. If that is all, then I shall take some time to myself.
Captain wants to be left the fuck alone. Shall we go?
They all nod their assent and begin to trickle out of the room. As they do, your cabin boy will lean over and go, "Oh, before I forget, boink, and will pluck the splinter from your thumb that you had neglected to remove.
Thank you.
Just of course, Captain. It's just a little prick.
Yes, it is.
The doors will shut behind you loudly, leaving you there with your thoughts.
I would have asked if he wasn't going to, but did he leave the map?
The map is left behind.
I'd like to look it over, study it a bit more, and see if I can come up with any other possible options.
The rest of the approaches from the island, you're coming up from the north, or coming down from the north, I suppose I should say. The southern areas are completely riddled with rough rock. The only way of approach would be to cut directly through this reef. But what kind of things would you expect? What kind of things are you thinking?
I guess I'm looking to see if there's like a narrow part of the reef that would be looking at the map. I know I can't solely judge based on that because it's kind of shoddy, but narrow part of the reef, whether there's if there's like a mark on exactly where on the island we need to go, and if, you know,
Straight for its heart.
yeah. Okay. And then I'm going to look at that safe passage as well and just
Sure.
try and judge.
Looking at the reef and looking at the map, you get, there are some narrow areas off to the sides that might also have shelter based off their proximity to some of the smaller islands, like the little dotted lands. Now, these islands are an acre across or less. Like, we're talking, like, they're enough for a few trees and not much more.
Right.
But getting close to them might provide a bit of natural cover, especially the ones that are wooded.
Right.
Because, if it's fire and lightning and there are still trees on those islands, but those would add potential additional time to you.
Okay.
You'll have to see in the moment, unfortunately.
Is there, looking at the safe passage route that he laid out, is there a way where we could either start with the safe passage and make it part of the way across the reef and then cut through the rest, or cut through some first to make it to a part of the safe passage where we can maybe avoid some of that switchback bits?
Potentially. That could be a good option. You'd have to make sure that you found that safe option first. But
True. Yeah.
assuming that you did that, just because there is a road, we'll say, through the wilderness, doesn't mean that you can't go off-roading.
Okay. Yeah. Josephine's going to take just a little bit of time to actually like rest and decompress and make sure she's good with her chosen course of action. And then she's going to go find her first mate.
Okay. You'll find him up on the deck, looking out over the water. The sky is pitch black, but streaked with red lightning in the distance that is growing ever closer. It's quite a sight, ain't it? He turns and looks at you with that bobbling silver eye, reflecting the red of the lightning so that it seems to glow ominously at you. Quite a sight.
Sure is.
What can I do you for, Captain?
We're gonna aim for the safe passage. And depending on how things are going, maybe take a shortcut or two.
If that's what you wish. It's your ship.
It is. It is. My ship, my crew, my treasure. Our treasure.
Seem to remember you get a larger share. What do you think's there? Inside the Bay of Nemo? What do you think the treasure actually is, Captain?
Oh. It could be almost anything. I mean, you get your standard gold, jewels, silver. It's a good chance. It's probably that. Could also be something else, just rare. I think my father might have wished for a treasure of books. Just, all of the old valuable books. I prefer the golden jewels, but
Then I hope you get everything that you're looking for, Captain. Well, we should. And as he goes to speak, you'll hear a voice call down from the crow's nest. Sighted! Up on the right! The Hades! And as he says that, the sky lightens to red, and beside you, you will see another ship some few hundred meters off the prow. Another ship. Jet black with red sails lurches in front of you. The sky in front of you is lit by the red lightning, but you can see a streak through the black clouds of pale horizon. It's morning. Time has passed. Your conversation and your thoughts were longer than you expected. The Hades comes up beside you to your right. And they are racing you, and they are racing you like the wind. What do you do?
oh man. What's the wind like?
The wind is beginning to squall around you as you punch in. You can hear it like a siren, like a whistle, like a bellow.
I would like to try and harness some of that to push us faster.
Okay. Using magic? How would you do that?
I would call out to a wind goddess that I can't think of the name of right now.
Boreas is a nice, easy one.
Yeah, there we go. And ask for help in our endeavors. And draw the wind to me.
You can almost see the goddess of wind take a deep breath and blow into your sails. The ship lurches forward, suddenly clipping a wave, slamming down and pushing. Around you, you see lightning slam into the ocean, splitting the water like eggshells. Above you, you will hear the sound of a whir of gears and cranks and pulleys. And your bosun will slide down on one of these harness seats that she has rigged up. She blows some of the hair out of her face. All right, the lightning rods are secure, and the ship is in good order, Captain.
Excellent. Let's race.
You push ahead, and the Hades does so as well. Its hull begins to glow. The cracks between the wood begin to see the red fire. They push nose to nose with you, barely 300 meters off to your right. And then the smell strikes the air.
and the lightning reaches up like Poseidon's claws themselves from beneath the ship and crumples it like a piece of parchment. You can hear the screams for that brief moment as the entire crew of the Hades is condemned to the depths before the liquid fire rolls from beneath the waves and consumes the vessel. Well, I suppose that's one down. Orders, Captain.
Press on.
Across the strait, or across open water?
Across the strait.
Aye, Captain. He'll give you a wink and head up to take the wheel himself. As he does, even with your pushing, the zigzagging nature of the strait means that you are confined. That you are limited to a single route. Next to you, the Concord and the Firmament rise up, neck and neck with you. And then the Pillager. Behind, you can see the ship the Black Grail, ironically a bone-white ship with the black sail. And another, in the distance, begins to be seen in your spyglass, but you cannot make out anything but its silhouette. And the massive number of masts and sails rising from its deck. You stick to the strait. Before long, the Concord is no longer your problem. A creature rises up from the depths made of magma, flows into the deck, and it sinks like a toy sailboat with a hole in the bottom. Lightning flashes. 3 down in just a moment. Lightning flashes out, striking into the main mast of the Firmament, leaving it dead in the water. The crew begins to abandon onto the small boats and sail for nearby islands. Only the Pillager, the Black Grail, and that final ship are in the race, and you can see that you are halfway to the island. However, due to sticking aboard the strait, the Black Grail and Pillager are both quite far ahead of you. If you're halfway there, then they are 2/3 the way there.
Are they 2/3 of the way across the reef?
Yes.
Or to the island? Okay.
So I'd say you're halfway across the reef, they're 2/3.
Okay.
But then the Pillager is no longer a worry. The same way that the Concord met its demise, so too does it, lightning flashing and striking through the hull, and burying it in the depths. The Black Grail struggles as well, but pushes forward. What do you do?
We're still about halfway there. 2/3. I'm going to stick to this current path and see see if anything happens to that ship. But once they get to about 80% of the way through, then my plans change if they're still alive.
Sounds good. There is a sudden shift in the wind behind you, and a ship, massive, twice the size of yours and moving with even greater speed and inertia, pulls alongside. The captain looks at you and smiles, and you will recognize her as she smiles at you, a rival from your younger days, whose face the audience has yet to meet. will smile at you. Do you have the details for her, by the way?
Not on me.
Okay, so I forget what she looks like, but the audience will be meeting her in future chapters, I'm sure. Smiles and pulls alongside you. Your first mate spits a bloody spittle onto the deck as the name, the Nemesis, pulls alongside of you. Taking the easy route, I see.
Keeping my crew safe. Do you see what happened to the others?
See what happens to this. The Nemesis pulls ahead, harnessing the winds like you have never seen. Before long, they catch up, and the Black Grail, nearing the finish, is besought, struck by their broadside cannons. The ocean devours them. And the screaming men and women aboard find the water boiling hot. You can, even from here, smell the burning, scorching, and the soup being made of their flesh. The Nemesis pushes forward. They are not on the straight. And yet, the lightning dances around them. It doesn't seem to strike at them. They are nearing the island. I would say that, for intents and purposes, they are 3 miles away. You are 5.
How does the straight work from here to there? Like,
With the straight there, it will zigzag back and forth. In miles, looking at the map, you can see ahead of you bits of the water. It's actually quite easy to aim, for the rest of the water is black and red, and the current that you ride is blue and clear and wide. But it zigzags back and forth in a quick adjustment of mental math. If they are 3 miles away and you are 5, the straight makes you 10. You could risk going off of it for a little bit up ahead. It zigzags back and forth.
yeah, I think. Okay, so what I want to do is twofold. First, I want to call upon the earth itself, the tidal forces that are at work here, and pull against the Nemesis to try and pull it back towards the reef.
All right. Sounds good.
While at the same time directing my crew to take the small hops across the reef where it zigzags, so that we're cutting some spots but getting some of those safe spots as we go.
Okay, so send the small boats, like the lifeboats?
No, like you said that I thought we could cut across with this boat.
Oh yeah, sorry. I
Yeah.
misunderstood when you said small boats. So to
Oh
the
no,
small
I said
hops.
small parts. The small parts.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. My bad. All right. So standing next to your first mate, are you sure you want to do that?
I'm sure. I trust in my crew, and we have made some protections.
The Nemesis lurches back, losing speed as the ocean seems to thicken around them, pulling them back toward you, buying you probably an extra mile. If you cut across, your 10 will drop to 7. It will require 2 jumps across.
Okay.
If you say so, Captain.
He navigates across the first, and the water explodes around you. Bits of boiling hot water splash up, and you could hear the hisses and sizzles as it strikes the deck. Some of your crew scream as it touches parts of their flesh, but for the most part, they're without grievous injury. A few burn marks on arms are to be expected, really. Some of them you can see have branding up and down their arms from the boiling water. Others see their clothing burn away. You touch the strait again, riding it closely.
If you want to try to do that, Captain, we've got one more jump point up ahead. It could be very dangerous.
In for a penny, in for a pound. We're here to win.
You're crazy.
Isn't that why you stay with me?
I stay with the ship. If you're crazy enough to do that, why don't you stay?
And he steps aside, leaving the wheel to spin in the breeze.
I'm gonna grab it.
Okay. Do you stay on the strait up ahead? Or do you veer between the waves for that shortcut?
Can I tell if he's really, like, upset with me that I've made that choice?
His face is a mask of impartiality, and he is watching your every move. The eye is rolling disturbingly in its socket, the false one.
Okay. Take the shortcut.
You take the shortcut, lashing through the open water. Magma roils up around the ship and rolls off of its reinforced side. Lightning flashes above you, crashing into the water, striking at your crow's nest, at your sail, at your sailors. Above you, you can swear for a moment you hear the cry of a rooster as the cock-shaped weather vane spins and spins around, lightning strike after lightning strike, slamming into its breast. The ship almost glows with the red lightning. And with that, you touch down next to the strait again. You are coming up close. You are but now 2 miles behind shore and 1 mile behind the Nemesis. It is in open water. You are on the strait. It is a straight shot. In theory, you might be able to catch them, or they might fall to misfortune if you stay on the strait. Or you could do anything you want. You could risk going off again. You could try to engage them. What do you do?
This is dream physics. In theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they seem close enough that Josephine will cry out over the sound of the waves. Fire the harpoon.
Okay. Since you're right, dream physics and distances do not matter inside of this. You begin to pull neck and neck. Soon enough, you will see that they do have enough advantage that the rough mile estimate and 2 mile estimate holds valid. But you'll hear the explosion as the octopus's harpoon lances across the distance, the sound of clicking chains attached to its haft. Sure enough, it will lash into the side of the Nemesis, its giant hull taking the blow like a stag's breast taking a bolt from a crossbow. It latches, it pulls, and it holds. What do? Are you jet skiing? How is this working?
A little bit of jet skiing, mostly keeping them from breaking away and pulling ahead. And also Since they kind of started the firing the guns, if we have a chance to take a shot at them, I tell my crew to take it.
Okay. So you're basically trailing behind them, a nice diagonal tether winching you from the front of your vessel onto the side back of theirs.
Yeah.
They're racing through the water. Lightning touches down onto the ship and almost seems to sail through it. Nothing seems to touch them except your harpoon and chain. To catch them, to be able to fire on them, you'd have to come up along broadsides. I'm not sure you can do that from the strait.
Hmm. Then I won't. With that. If between the harpoon and how close we managed to get, this may come down to a fight on the beach, but if I don't have the chance to shoot at them without severely compromising the ship's safety, then I'm not going to take that at this point.
That sounds good to me. They race ahead, hundreds of meters from shore. You trail behind, your chain pulling until it clicks, lurching your ship forward with the added momentum of their vessel. They are almost inside of Macaw Bay. They are almost tearing the harpoon from their vessel. They are immune to whatever this reef of thunder and fire lashes out. Until they're not. As they reach the cusp of the bay, the mouth of it seems to snarl at them. The belching and rumbling of some of the volcanic chasms near the edge of the bay belt them with molten rock. Their masts collapse upon each other like dominoes. And the ship runs aground on a nearby speckle island, one of the ones punctuating the mouth of the bay. The ship's momentum causes it to jump. It skips and capsizes directly in front of you, blocking the remainder of the strait. There is no safe harbor for you now. What do you do?
First, we cut the harpoon from our side.
Sounds good.
Release the chain.
Okay, you yell, release the chain?
Yep.
All right, you'll hear your cabin boy slam a lever down. You'll hear chink as the chain breaks, and you'll hear, see ya, bitch!
And then we take whatever route we can.
Your first mate turns and looks at you.
So you agree now? The strait. It do exist, don't it?
I never disagreed.
Then why, Josephine, have you been such a foolhardy bitch?
And as he says that, the ship will begin to evaporate around you into mist. The sound of the waves will slowly fade away, and you'll find yourself standing on a misty deck.
You've got things to do. And you can't be doing all of it now, if you burn yourself to a crisp.
You have a point.
The straits may be invisible, but they do exist. And if you defy them, You risk more than you stand to gain. Remember this on your way out if you could, girl.
I'll remember.
Remember. The straits are boring and loathsome. If you don't acknowledge that they're there in the first place, you can't take shortcuts. Be seeing you.
And with that, you will hear the sound of an ice cube dancing inside of a tumbler. Excuse me, ma'am, did you want another drink? The bartender says to you. It appears you've finished your rum.
Oh, I'm gonna look around for the others that...
They appear to have left a while ago. I have a note here to call a carriage for you, from a Mr. O'Kieran. It's waiting outside whenever you'd like it, ma'am.
Maybe I'll have that drink first.
Of course. Was it good? I couldn't help but listen. You were talking to yourself a lot. It sounded like you were, writing a story.
Telling one, more like, but yeah.
Stevenson?
Yeah,
Over at Treasure Island. It's a good one.
it's really good.
Another dark and stormy then.
Thank you.
The bartender will mix you a drink. And as you glance up into the mirror behind him, you'll see a large, scarry-faced man rise from the chair next to you and begin walking toward the door. As he does, whistling a jolly tune. Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum, a pirate's life for me. And that's your seeking, Jen. There you go.
Yeah.
So, I am going to deem that you passed.
Yay!
I have not chosen your resonance that you're going to pick up yet. But the message of the seeking was not only to fucking admit that paradox exists.
I think I got that at the end there. Yes, thank you.
Right. But also that just because it exists doesn't mean you can't let it own you, type of thing. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
like you can't just sit with your thumb up your butt the entire time. You got to get out there and take risks. But my God, just don't only take risks.
Yeah, fair. That is the lesson she needed to learn. Thank you for teaching it to her.
You are welcome. I was like, oh God, it's a hard one to try to teach in a seeking though, because we're so used to like black and white choices of like, so do you just do one or just do the other? And meanwhile, your hyperactive pirate avatar, dynamic avatar, mind you, is just like, oh, for God's sake, just do all of it. 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 Right?
Yeah.
And please don't coke up your crew, or do. It'd be funny.
And for the record, I didn't clue in until the end.
When he was expositing to make sure you got the point. Yeah.
No, just before that.
Okay.
When we got to so you agree now the straight does exist.
Oh yeah, you'd already passed at that point, so that's good.
Yeah, but like the moment I said I never disagreed, my brain clicked and went, oh fuck. I see where we are here.
And I was also worried about this because straight, the way that straights are presented in the book, it is presented as a replacement for paradox, thereby being the antagonistic element of the game, where in the Victorian book, they're actually written up as not the antagonistic element, rather the safe element that you are defying. Yeah. So it's not that you're like getting it. The straights don't punish you. Consensus punishes you.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the
Yeah.
synonym, not paradox. And man, when I was reading it the other day, like the whole thing is like, oh yeah, like straight through a bad channel or through rough water. And I'm
Right.
like, oh, there's the seeking right there. It was because I was like, it's got to be on a boat. It's got to have pirates. What the hell's it gonna be? But it wasn't until about like a week ago, that like it really clicked for me. So
Nice.
you will take Arete 4.
Excellent.
And everything will become exponentially harder after this. So I hope you enjoyed that success. I will come up with a resonance for you that fits the vibe of like the temperance of that. Measured, temperate, something like that. If you have any synonym ideas, that would be good. I think you're going to get a static resonance though. I think.
Yeah. I think it's time for one.
Because you've got what, fiery
And forceful.
Yeah. So I could give you measured, I could give you steady. I kind of feel like I want to give you steady because that also sounds like something a pirate would yell.
Yeah, I like steady.
Okay, so take static steady as your resonance. I also would suggest you take a look at changing one of your nature or demeanor to reflect this deep change as well.
I'll have a look at those.
You can also, by the way, any of your specialties, if you want to change any of your specialties out for a different one, I would be willing to consider that as well.
Well, I only have one specialty, and I still kind of like it because it's wits crisis mode.
Yeah, that's probably that sticks. That sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to buy any additional specialties, or any additional stuffs, you are welcome to.
I will be working towards Forces 4. I've set aside the XP for it, but
okay. So that'll happen between books. At Forces 4, you will be able to take a specialty.
Cool.
Now, which because we're using the magic is explosive rule, I think that we'll probably have to talk about what that rule means. It might mean that 10s explode and are worth double.
Okay.
If you have a specialty, so it is incredibly potent, but that means your enemies will have that ability as well.
Right. Yeah.
So that mixed with my magic can't one-shot you policy for players is and for big named NPCs. Kind of an unwritten rule I like to do because otherwise you could just melt someone to death in a single.
Right. Yeah. How much are specialties for with XP?
So you get them for free when you buy the 4th in something.
When you buy the 4th, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I actually meant before I realized that sounded like I was saying just buy the specialty.
There's some systems where you can buy specialties. So
yeah, Chronicles of Darkness, you absolutely can. You can, but I almost exclusively buy specialties because they're so cheap.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I have like 6 XP right now if I save my Forces 4 stuff. So
well, you'll probably have like 10 by the end of the night.
Depending on if
people are saving up for it.
Right?
So
and I love them for that.
Right. It's pretty great. So that was your seeking. Folks, if you're listening, I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah. Do you have any questions, comments, concerns, Jen?
I do not. I'm looking forward to game in a couple hours.
It will be tonight's a pretty low-key game, I think, because it's like tonight's is going to be a recovery game, I think, based on the previous one, because a lot of things happen.
Yeah.
We'll see you shortly then. So thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you at Mage the Ascension in a couple of hours tonight. And this will be released on Twitch and YouTube after I edit it in the next couple of days. So you'll be able to hear that. I'll have to broadcast a version for YouTube and Twitch, so that'll be fun. All right, so we'll see you later. Bye, everybody. Bye. Also, thank you. Join the Patreon. And before we go, I just want to quickly thank all of our patrons at patreon.com/dorktales who allow these type of things to be possible. In particular, I want to thank Shulton, who is our world building producer. I would like to thank DM Michael Gray, our amazing divine producer, and our diabolical demonic producers, Soul Omen and Precarious. I also really got to thank all of our princes of the Patreon, Terran, Buddy, Amberthist, Aeolus, Cubby Gummy, Trizelta, and The Traveler. You all are amazing, and you really bring this all together. I also want to thank all of the people who watch this game regularly, and all the people who are on the Patreon as well, because it's a big thing to do, and you make it happen. So thank you so much for all of your love and support, and we will see you very shortly. Bye, everybody. Okay,
Bye.
cool.